What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY in invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So, as far as the market is going, I just want to mention that Tesla was trying to hold this blue trend line of support. We ended up losing this, so it's not the best of news for it. And now that Tesla's below its key EMAs, there's a lot of weakness that's been building. Tesla's holding the support right over here around this 410 area. If we lose this or close below this, there's going to be a sign of weakness, which could lead to more downside. But we haven't lost critical support yet, although there is some weakness on Tesla stock. So the question is, what's going to affect the market going into tomorrow, and what is some big news that's come out? I want to talk about the news first, then I'll break down what I think about Tesla's charts and the others out there. There was some news involving Tesla about how Tesla is significantly raising its prices for all of its models in Canada. This is going to be including many of them out there. This is going to be starting on February 1st, according to different notices on Canadian websites, that the prices of the Model 3 are going to be going up by about $6,200 USD or 9,000 Canadian dollars. And also, the other Model Y variants alongside the S and X will be rising by about 4,000 Canadian dollars. They didn't give us a reason for why this is happening, but this is what's going on right now. So we'll see how it goes for them moving forward. There was good news that simultaneously came out. We're seeing a lot of analysts are saying Tesla is going to be running to $500 a share by the end of the year. Wedbush analysts are saying that, so are Piper Sandler analysts. That's very, very good news for Tesla. But for the short term, this news is not the best for them, especially because of how it's affecting technicals and the current sentiment about Tesla. And then I also want to add that despite the fact that Tesla's weak, it could still dip a little bit more if that ends up being the case. But that's not the end of the world, because you have to consider that we have FOMC next week, not to mention Tesla's earnings that could affect the share price in a different manner. So I'll be waiting for that going into next week, despite the fact that we're kind of weak for now. As far as the market goes, we saw the S&P 500 hold up very nicely. We saw SPY break all-time highs, and the market's still holding up very well. The question is, what's happening here? What's going to happen, at least moving forward? The answer is, the market saw a lot of buyers that stepped in looking at individual tickers. At the same time, we saw a lot of sideways price action for other tickers that are like Apple, Nvda, and many others. But there was more green than red, if anything. That's what's really helping these markets. Now, moving forward, I just want to say that one of the reasons why the market pumped was because we had President Trump giving a speech at the World Economic Forum. He talked about the U.S.'s global affairs, his views about the economy, and he also mentioned that he's implying that he wants to pressure Jerome Powell to cut rates more. He mentioned that they should be a lot lower and that he wants to do whatever is in his power to bring them down. So Donald Trump is in favor of lower interest rates. That was bullish news for the markets. That's why the market saw this massive push to new all-time highs, at least on SPY. It managed to break past this resistance, but Tesla was still a little bit weak despite that, right? We had SPY and the QQQ in the green, but Tesla was in the red, showing some relative weakness, unfortunately. So I just want to be very honest about that. But what's going to affect the market going into tomorrow? I want to talk about some big news that's come out. So Japan has a lot of updates coming out, at least when it comes to their technicals. I was, talking with a lot of my friends about this. Just know this: we just got the inflationary numbers for Japan on a year-over-year basis. We had a 3.6% inflation rate. That's above what we were expecting at 3.2%. For core inflation year over year, it was at 3%. That's very close to expectations, on the higher end at 3%. And then for inflation, all items month over month, Japan saw a 0.6% increase. That's above the expectations of 0.4%. So at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in just a couple of hours from now, the Bank of Japan is going to be making the interest rate decision. This is going to be giving us more insights. We're expecting a 0.5% consensus/forecast. So we might be seeing them raising rates again. Okay, not the best of news, but the market knows this. I wouldn't necessarily say the market's going to be surprised. And it's not really affecting the market too much so far. The market looks unfazed as it's trying to push to new highs. So we'll see if this affects the market or not. You never know. Sometimes you want to be very, very careful just to be safe. But looking at the Japanese data, you guys can see there's an increase in our overall inflationary numbers, and this could incentivize them to raise rates again temporarily. This could be the highest we've seen their interest rates in over a decade and a half. So we'll see how things end up going for them. This could be affecting the U.S. dollar and U.S. markets to some extent. We'll see. There was a time back in August where Japan had to raise rates, and that caused a big sell off in the global markets, especially in the US. However, for the US, there was also unemployment numbers that came out that weren't too good, and there were other factors that caused that. It was not just the Japanese rate hike. So I just want to make it clear that this could still affect the US markets. It's happened historically, but I don't know for sure exactly what the reaction will be because the market is looking like it doesn't care. So far, it's just pushing. But then at the same time, the Japanese inflationary numbers don't look too good, and there is a risk of them raising rates again. Moving forward for earnings, we don't really have anything too significant for today. We had American Airlines. I kind of went over this in the morning already. So tomorrow we have Verizon and American Express announcing earnings. We'll see what that leads to. And then last but not least, we have this news right here. Just know that as far as the market's going, we have over 300,000 of these calls expiring, at least for SPY, and we have over 1 million puts expiring. That's a 3.19 put to call ratio in total. So the majority of positions are in puts, which may incentivize a short squeeze. So not a guarantee, but I'll talk about what technicals suggest. So what's happening to Tesla? The honest answer is we're very choppy right now, but there is some weakness because Tesla is technically making lower highs like this. We also got this big red bar, which tends to favor downs. Let's just keep that in mind. When you zoom out and look at the daily chart on Tesla, there's weakness right here. If we lose that 410 zone very close to our 20, our 20 EMA, we could be dipping back down to 406 or even 402. So just keep that in mind. And then if we bounce and break past 420, we could be looking for some kind of balance. But for now, I am seeing a little bit of weakness, at least technically speaking. Looking at the 4-hour, we're seeing a weakness as we're on a bit of a downtrend. I also want to mention that there's a potential left shoulder here, a head and then a right shoulder, so it could be favoring downside. So there's still a lot of weakness on Tesla stock compared to the other stocks out there. So I'm seeing weakness like this. It all depends on our key levels. If Tesla loses this 410 area tomorrow, we're looking for 406, then potentially 402 as our targets. If we bounce and we break back above 416, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 420 plus to bounce back up. As of right now, there's a little bit of weakness compared to the market as Tesla's in the red, whereas the market was in the green, and we're showing some signs of reverseness. We're making lower highs and lower lows after this big red bar. So we're technically favoring a push and then a dip tomorrow. We could be retesting 410. If we can't hold that, we could be dipping a little bit lower. So I still see some weakness on Tesla, unfortunately, unless we try to reclaim 416. We love to bounce in the mornings, then reject, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of days. So there's still weakness, technically speaking, for Tesla. This may depend on the Bank of Japan, what kind of results we get, so keep that in mind. Also, tomorrow at 9:45 a.m., we have the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing Services PMI reports. May cause even more volatility, so we'll see what that leads to. But the main thing will be what we see from Japan. So be careful. As far as SPY goes, now technically, SPY is bullish. Technicals look bullish on SPY, but whether or not we get the break is going to be dependent on some data. If SPY pushes and we break past 610, I'm looking for 612.5 as my next target, then eventually the 615 area. If we lose 608, we're looking for essentially 605. And if that fails us, we're looking for a dump back down to about 603. Overall, we're looking more bullish, at least technically speaking, so we favor us trying to break 610, especially because we have over 1 million puts expiring. But just to be safe, I'm not going to make any promises. We have to see what the charts and the data suggest just to be safe. So be very, very patient nonetheless. So I hope that's as clear as possible, guys. Make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. As far as the QQQ goes, we're also making higher highs and higher lows. If we break 533, we're looking for 535. If we lose 530, we're looking for 527, then 525 as our supports. Technically speaking, it's a little bit more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows, but that depends if we can break 533. We may test that tomorrow and try to break higher. I find that to be a little bit more probable, but that depends on our data. So just to be safe, we'll see what the data gives us. For the Russell 2000 IWM, just know that we're looking a bit more bullish because we're making higher highs and higher lows. Also, it's looking like we got a little retest right here of our 200 EMA. We're trying to break out like this. If we break this high here at 230, we're looking for 232 as our resistance. If we end up losing 227, we're looking for a dip back down towards 225. I think there's a bullish divergence here, and there's a good chance we try to continue to push back up to higher levels. If 230 breaks, we're looking for 232 or above. So I'm favoring upside right now, at least for the Russell 2000. I think there's a good chance we try to push higher, and we'll see if we try to push from here. But whether or not that happens depends on the Bank of Japan, so keep that in mind. Could go either way. ES is looking bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. We also broke past 6120. This is favoring wants to go up towards the 6160 to 6180 area. So this is favoring that it wants to do something like this where it dips and starts pushing back up towards these highs. Now, whether we break these highs or not depends on some factors. So will we see us break out like this, or will we see a rejection from the get-go? If we end up losing 6100 flat, we're looking for a pullback. And if we manage to hold above 6150, we're looking for a push to all-time highs on ES. Could go either way, guys, depending on these factors, but I think right now we're favoring this, that it wants to go higher based off technicals. This depends on the Bank of Japan, but just know we still look bullish. NQ is looking bullish because we're above 22,000. If we hold above 22,000, we're going to be going to 22,200. If we lose 22,000, we reject it. We're looking for 21,850. If that fails us, we could be dipping back down. Overall, NQ looks a bit more bullish. We're favoring upside as a stronger possibility. So as long as 22,000 holds, we're looking for 22,200. So we'll see how things end up going. Overall, I think that we're doing a very, very good job so far. I think that things are continuing to look quite good. And I think there's a very, very good chance that things are going to continue to push at least as time goes on. So I think that NQ looks a bit more bullish. So give this the time it needs, and we'll be watching this very, very closely. For Bitcoin, okay, we have a left shoulder here, a head and then a right shoulder. Despite that, we're actually holding up very well. So we're not officially bullish or bearish. We have this resistance zone up here around this 106,800 area. And we have this support right here around 101,000. We're stuck in the middle, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If we lose 101,000, we're looking for a dump back down towards 100,000 or below. If we break this resistance, we turn back up. As of right now, all Bitcoin is doing is we're going back and forth between these levels. And that's all it's going to likely do for now. So it might be coming back down here. We'll see if we get a bounce or not. But if we lose this, that's going to be a break in structure. Then we could be looking for that head and shoulders. So I do see some weakness. I think we might dip a little bit on Bitcoin towards 103,000. Then we'll see if we get a big bounce after that. Might be a dip right here. Then we'll see if we get some kind of rebound as the most likely possibility. So watch it and just give it some time. On Nvidia, we have, and I'm going to focus on the individual tickers now. We have a cup and handle-like structure. We look bullish because we held up very nicely. If we break 147, we push up to 150. This is going to be a bullish sign if the buyers come in. And if we end up rejecting, we lose support at this 144 area, we're going to be dipping back down to 140. So lose 144, we dip to 140, and break 147, we push to 150. It could go either way, so watch these levels just to be safe. But overall, I think that we look a little bit more bullish. Overall, Nvidia is doing a good job at trying to break 147, so I think it favors upside a little bit more. But just to be safe, we'll be watching to see what happens with our data that's coming out, so please keep that in mind. Once again, for Tesla, it depends on the data, of course, but we're very choppy. We're showing a little bit of weakness because of low volume and the fact that Tesla's making lower highs and lower lows. Unless we get back above 420, we favored that we're going to continue to dip. Watch 410 to be retested tomorrow. We'll see if we hold that or not. If not, we could be dipping to the lower 400s. So please be careful, guys. Tesla's showing some weakness. For Aapl, Apple's on a bit of a downtrend, making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows. If we manage to reclaim 226, we're looking for a big bounce. And if we can't do that, we're going to be dipping back down to 220. I think the chart's favoring that's rejecting off 226. It's not able to break past that. And it could be dipping a little bit lower, so be careful with this. So I still see weakness in a lot of range-bound price action that's going to be coming. I think we might be making a move back down to the lower 220s. Then we could bounce like this, just kind of trade like this for some time. But if we lose 220, we're going to be looking for a bigger dip. So there's some weakness on Aapl because of their bad news that came out involving China, some price downgrades, and other factors just like that. For Netflix, I'm just going to focus on the rest of these now and be kind of quick, by the way. So Netflix is looking a bit more bullish. We came very close to my target. We actually bounced off 950. I was talking about 940. So it came a little bit above expectations before it tried to bounce. So this could be retesting 1,000. We'll have to see if we break 1,000 or not. It's going to be a tough resistance. So see if we get a rejection or not. So give this the time it needs. For others out there, we have MSTR. This is in the middle. We have an inverse head and shoulders, nice accumulation. We need to try to get back above 373. As long as we hold that, we could be bouncing for the 380s. And if we lose 361, we're going to be dipping back down. I'm favoring a bounce right here, so give this the time it needs just to see how things end up progressing. For Celsius, we're on a bit of a downtrend right now. It's still showing some weakness. If 25 does not hold, we're going to be dumping even lower, back down towards 24.5 or below. So I think what's going to likely happen is if we reclaim 25.5, so this resistance right here, we turn back up. Otherwise, as long as we're below that, we could continue to dip towards 24.5. For Supermicro, there's a nice reversal structure, but there might be a dip coming first to it because we got this liquidity grab right where this resistance is, which could drag us down towards the 32.5 area. We'll see if we get a bounce or not, but I do favor the downside as a stronger possibility. So look for some downside to 32.5, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get, so please keep that in mind. For Palantir, we're forming a very, very nice cup right here. 80 is going to be our resistance. If we break 80, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 82. I think Palantir looks very bullish after good news has come out. If we end up losing support at 77, we're looking for a dip back down towards 75. But that is not looking very probable. We want to be pushing to the 80s. Now, it may depend on the Bank of Japan news, but for now, just know that we still look bullish. So that's going to be very, very important. So please keep that in mind. For Rivian, we're looking at this support at 12.5 for this holds. We're looking for a bounce back up to 13 plus. And if we lose the support, we could be dipping even lower. We're technically on a bit of a downtrend, so watch to see what kind of reaction we get. But I'm going to be looking for a move like this. I think it's going to see a small rebound attempt to retest 13. And if we get a rejection, we could continue to fall like this unless we hold above 13. But I say that because we have this head and shoulders and we're showing some weakness on the 4 hour. So please be very careful. SoFi is looking bullish. So the market's like a mixed bag. Some tickers are weak, some are strong. SoFi is looking very strong because we're trying to break past this resistance at 18. We have this, low right over here that's being retested. So if we break 18, we're looking for a break of structure back up towards that 18.5 plus area. So it's looking bullish overall. And I think that there's a good chance we try to continue to push slowly back up to 18.5. It also depends on the news. For AMD, I'm seeing some downside. I think we're going to be retesting 121. If we bounce off that, we could continue to go higher. If not, we could be dipping to this imbalance. We have a gap down here to fill, so it is technically favoring 120 a little bit more, but we'll see just to be safe. For ARM, I think this is going to be testing 160. It's going to be revisiting our 4-hour 20 EMA. And we'll see if we get a bounce or not. Otherwise, we favor downside. So just be careful. Might be a little bit more downside coming, so be very, very open to that. For coin, we're holding our 20 EMA very nicely. As long as that holds, we could continue to push above 300. If we can't break that, we're going to be dipping lower. I see a double bottom here, so it is technically bullish. But the problem is we're range bound between the 280s and then basically 300. So I think there's a very good chance that we just consolidate a bit, going back and forth like this before we see a big move higher. So unless we break 300, then yes, we will push higher. But for now, that's what the chart is suggesting. As far as Amazon goes, we look a bit more bullish because we're trying to hold support. If we hypothetically lose 233, we dump back down to 230. As long as we're above 235, we remain bullish. We'll see if we hold 233 or not. If we do, we could continue to push for like 238 or above. If we lose 233, we dump to 230. If we hold above 235, we're looking for a push. I'm favoring it could be pushing above and holding those levels. For Meta, we have a nice double bottom-like structure. We're breaking resistance right here. If we were to lose 635-ish, we're going to be dumping back down to 630. As long as we're above 635, I'm favoring 640 plus or above. So it looks a bit more bullish to me looking at the 4-hour time frame. For other factors out there, we also happen to have Microsoft. Microsoft is looking more bullish. If we end up losing support right here at 444, we're looking for a dump back down towards 440. But as long as we're above support, we could be continuing to push. So could be looking for a move like this and a continuation higher. I think that we're looking quite strong on Microsoft. It depends if we could try to hold above these key levels, but for now, I think we're doing a great job. As long as we get back above 445, I think we favor 448 and 450. For Google, we're looking so. We're in a range on Google. I hope I still have my levels, but we're just going back and forth between the low 200s and basically the 190s. We're showing some strength, though, because we're spending a lot of time above our 20 EMA. It's the first time we did this in many months. So I wouldn't be surprised if we retest 198 and hopefully get a balance. We try to break past 202 to remain bullish. If we get back above 202, we're bullish. If we lose 198, we turn back down to 196. So it all depends on these factors. I'm hoping we break past 200 and bounce, so give this the time it needs. For GameStop, we're going to be looking for a test of 28.5 and eventually 29. I favor upside a little bit more, so watch and see what kind of reaction we get. For AMC, if we break 3.48, we're looking for a bounce for essentially 3.63. If we don't break this, we're looking for a dip back down. I think we're going to likely consolidate and try to break out here, so give this the time it needs. For DJT, we're stuck in the middle. We're just consolidating down here, so give this some time as well. There's a little bit of weakness because we rejected off our 20 EMA. We have to reclaim 34.5. If not, we're going to be dumping back down to 32, so be careful with DJT. The VIX is in the middle. I'm not sure if we're about to get a big bounce or rejection on the VIX. It could go either way, depending on the Bank of Japan news, depending on the catalyst for tomorrow. If it breaks 15.6, it's getting a nice bounce. If it doesn't do that, if we fail at 15, we're looking for a dump back down to the gap in the 13.8 area. Could go either way, so give this the time it needs. For the 10-year Treasury yield, we're also going to be watching some key levels. This could go either way depending on the Fed. There's a possible left shoulder, head, and right shoulder here. So this is like a bearish signal, which tends to be bullish for the markets. And then the dollar is so. I mean, we're trying to hold our 200 EMA at 108. If that fails us, we're going to be dumping a lot more. That could be bullish for the markets, so we'll have to see. So my view of the market is very simple. We are looking technically more bullish, but whether or not we get a break depends on this news from Japan. Will Japan cause something different depending on what they do with their rates? And also, will we end up seeing something with this data coming out for tomorrow, which is not that significant? So we'll see about that. So please give this some time to develop. As far as Tesla goes, we're a little bit lackluster. I would love to see Tesla break 416 to bounce, but so far we're not showing signs of that. We're just below our key EMAs. We're below our trend line, and we're just continuing to downtrend. There's low volume. We're seeing a lot of chop, and there's going to be a risk of this continuing to fall if we can't reclaim 416. So watch 410 to be tested tomorrow. If that fails us, we will be dipping more. So please keep that in mind. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you for listening, guys. I know I'm kind of late right now. I was waiting for some Japanese data to come out, and I was a little bit busy, but I'm here. I'll be back tomorrow before market opens. See you guys tomorrow, and peace out.